Alright, time for a new video. But before I really get into anything, I want to explain two things. Number one, I am recovering from a cold, so if I sound kind of weird, then that's why. Number two, this doesn't have anything to do with Forward Together, which I recently made a 1.5 hour video on. This is about the 2040 growth concept, which goes back quite a bit further than the Forward Together thing. They are disconnected, even if they seem very similar. So, Oregon Metro made a large transit plan, which became adopted in 1995, and showed the future growth of the Portland area of how it could be by 2040. That's what I'm going to be discussing here. So here's the map of what that looks like, and this has been updated periodically, and I will be referring to this throughout the video. I will link it, it's a PDF, I will link in the description below if you want to check it out yourself. Now I'm going to be covering what it is, things I would add and things I wouldn't do, and the reasons as to why. Let's start with a staple of Portland, Max. Well, there are several extensions on here that are now open, with trains extending out to the airport, Expo Center, Clackamas, Milwaukee. The Southwest Corridor Green Line extension is also included on this map. I'm going to have a dedicated video on that here soon. The West is also included on this map. Some other extensions on here are for the Max to go into Vancouver, which really needs to be done, and the old streetcar extension when Lake Oswego to Portland was supposed to be a thing for streetcars by Highway 43. I would not revive this project. That one just really doesn't make any sense to me. If anything, I guess this could be a BRT line. Now, I've made a recent video on Max Future, several actually, and the direction I see the Max going in, including a tunnel underneath downtown Portland. As for the streetcar, I've said plenty of times before that I see a huge future in streetcar expansion, and I've done several videos talking about them, but the one that I think would most relate to today's topic would be my most recent video on Streetcar Future 2022. I just want to see streetcars being designed well. I just want to see an actually good streetcar network, and I do think Portland is on the right track for that. I also made an entire series of videos on America's streetcar systems and how they're flawed and how to fix them, including a whole video where I talk about my 12 elements in designing a good streetcar network. West's future and regional rail, commuter rail future, I've done a video on that too. That one was quite a bit more recent. These highlight my most recent opinions on this sort of thing. I'll probably have more next year and the year after because my opinions are ever evolving. Speaking of, did you see the high-speed line? It's the Amtrak corridor from Portland. It's the same corridor the Amtrak line uses, but it's been highlighted for high-speed purposes. This would be very, very interesting. I would really like to see a higher speed electric train line be built through this area. There were also lots of corridors on this map that were highlighted in yellow. I am not going to cover all of those in detail, but I will cover some of the more interesting ones. Firstly, BRT corridors. It's no surprise that TriMet wants to expand FX and have other FX lines. TV Highway needs it, 82nd Avenue needs it, Burnside probably needs it, and if the Southwest Corridor Max for whatever reason doesn't get built, Barber definitely needs it too. In fact, I made a video, last card I promise, on the future of FX and other line considerations and a whole list of things to consider for BRT or just simply getting articulated buses and that sort of thing. So I originally wrote the script for this video before the Forward Together thing was released. So some of the things I'm about to say are actually a bit outdated, like the simple fact that I was talking about how there's a grid. There's a nice grid of corridors being studied here in Portland, and that I would like to see something on the west side kind of similar to that. We need a nice grid of north-south lines and east-west lines instead of just the mess that we have today. Although, with the whole forward together thing, that has fixed a lot of the large holes on the west side that just don't get any service. It's still not perfect, but that's again a goal to reach toward. It's not just going to happen overnight. And this proves my point of the whole streetcar thing. A lot of these corridors that are being studied in northeast and southeast Portland, a lot of these streets in some way connect with downtown Portland. A lot of these highlighted corridors do, which are perfect streetcar line candidates. There's already streetcar tracks in downtown. I would like to see streetcar expanding to some of these really busy routes that connect with downtown. It's a next logical step. And the other final thing that I would definitely consider, and I talked about it earlier and I've talked about it in other videos, is taking the MAX and submerging it underground. We need it. It needs to happen. It's not just, oh, wouldn't it be cool? No, it needs to be done. The bottleneck at the steel bridge is the worst ever. Cars getting stuck on the tracks is an issue I hear about all too often. That just wouldn't happen with a tunnel. Sure, you might encounter it to where cars try and drive in your tunnel or whatever, but with proper signage and if the area is well enough patrolled, that shouldn't be too big of an issue. And again, that's more of the exception and not the rule. Whereas nowadays, it seems like you hear about a car getting stuck on the track at least once a week. So this was my brief-ish look at the 2040 growth concept, and of course the next logical step to look at after looking at this would be some of the lines in question, such as Southwest Corridor. I believe in 2 weeks from now, 2 Mondays from today, you can expect a video on that, and some of the updates which I didn't even know about until I read some documents earlier this year, but you'll just have to stay tuned for that, and thank you for watching.